And we are live, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Fighting Fit podcast. Today with me, Eamonn O'Connor, the fastest man in Fighting Fit, the fittest man in Fighting Fit.
Questionable at this rate.
Yeah, well, maybe right now, as of currently, you're a little bit injured, but only because, as I was saying about you the other morning to somebody, you're putting miles that would put my car to shame. So maybe that's why the leg didn't quite hold up.
Maybe.
Yeah. This is it. What was the race and the kind of pace that you were running? It was the half marathon, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I did the half marathon in May, the New York City half. So just under 1 hour 19, so just over 6 minute mile pace. So kilometer pace is 340 high or 350 maybe. But yeah, it was.
Whoa, is right. That was a mile pace. 6 minute miles.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I was thinking in kilometers. I was like, oh, geez, okay, that's decent. That's pretty good. So that was what's that a kilometer? 3 something kilometers?
Like 348 or I think 345 maybe. Yeah, I'm not 100% on the math.
That is insane. So just to reference that, people maybe haven't even stretched out the miles or the kilometers that far. That's probably like a 15, 16 minute 5K or something, is it?
No, it's not that quick. It'd be it was about 19 minutes per 5K.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so serious running for a half marathon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean it was faster than I expected on the day. I was coming off a hamstring injury not too long before that, so I think a bit of muscle memory kicked in and had a good run, but then probably overloaded then on the back end. So back in my current predicament of being injured.
Fun. So you're probably one of the very few people who I know who might actually have genuine shin splints. That's kind of what's going on, isn't it?
Yeah, or tendinopathy. As I was at the physio just this afternoon. So it's it's along the inside of the bone on the left leg. So the point of attachment is quite tender and sore where the tendon joins onto the bone, and don't think it's developed into a stress fracture, which is good, but need to manage it. So
okay, so that's your struggles at the minute.
At the minute, yeah.
That's all right. Well, listen, for those who don't know, I'll just do a quick kind of rundown on Eamonn's history with us. So Eamonn joined with us back in, am I right in saying December 2022?
November, December, yeah. I think I did my foundations in November and started the classes in December, yeah.
Yeah. And so then starting in December, going really, really strong, you managed to lose then 17.2 kilo. So that was a really, really, really good stint of weight loss when you started. So you kind of came in, knew that you had some weight to lose, you got the weight off, and then we kind of started getting stuck back into running. Obviously, you never really stopped, but you kind of seen the numbers kind of start to pick up to coincide with the weight loss. But before we kind of get into that, what was it that made you make the decision to join in the first place?
Being fat or being heavy. So, I mean, I do have a background in running, but running was kind of the only sport I ever really enjoyed. But I have a pretty checkered history with injuries. So as I was getting older, running was just becoming more and more difficult. It wasn't enjoyable because most runs I'd be in pain with some kind of injury, and it got to the stage where I was running less and eating more, and I try and run to lose the weight and get injured, and so I was kind of stuck. And two of the brothers, Darren and Sean, were both Fighting Fit members, and kept raving about how much they enjoyed it. And I just knew I needed to do something, to get in shape, to try something different. At that point, I was kind of not done with running, but I felt like running was done with me. So I don't really enjoy cycling or rowing or any other cardiac stuff. So it was I figured gym work was as good as the next best thing. And then so that was the motivation to start. And then once I got into it and started getting a little bit fitter and losing a little bit of weight, and started to run again, the body was a lot happier with me, in a bit lighter condition and better shape. But a lot of the strength work that we were doing in the gym helped correct a lot of the injury issues that I'd been having before. So got my first kind of real consistent streak of running in the last couple of years that I, injury free, that I'd never really have had in the past up until the last few weeks.
Yeah. So this is the first real injury since joining Fighting Fit again.
Yeah, I mean, I would have had particularly in college, when I was at my most competitive from a running point of view, I would have had a lot of shin problems. And this is the first time in 20 plus years I've had shin splints. But most of my other problems were kind of, I would say, functional in the way I ran, weakness in the groin and the glutes, and it would lead to kind of just different overuse, chronic overuse injuries with the running, and a lot of the stuff that we do in the classes and the weight training help address some of those imbalances and address the weaknesses in those muscles. So running's improved as a result.
Yeah, you're a very, very interesting case for a coach kind of coming in, because a lot of the people that we deal with are kind of fat loss only, and maybe not a whole pile of previous trends. So you're kind of building people up from grassroots. But again, to get somebody like yourself who was already coming from a really, really, really high level of running and had that base, and also again to your credit as well, like to be able to kind of come in and take the bull by the horns in terms of nutrition and just kind of follow suit that way. So you really did maximize the benefits that you would have got from the training with the nutrition, which is amazing. And again, to kind of see that the strength and conditioning element really just brought your running back to life. That was so cool to get to be a part of, because obviously, again, yeah, like your reports coming in, I'm starting to run again, and I was kind of feeling like I was kind of done with it, or it was done with me, and to not be able to do it. And again, for somebody to have such ability at it, and to also kind of be thinking about hanging up the boots, it's such a juxtaposition, because you're kind of thinking, well, listen, this is my love, this is my passion, and also I don't really feel like I'm capable of doing it anymore. But the research and the studies show weight training really, really benefits the muscles and the joints and the bones and that kind of stuff, and you're living proof of that. And that was really, really interesting and cool to see. And to then, obviously for that to continue for an extended period of time, because you didn't give it up by any stretch. In fact, you've been really even just leveling up your game even since those early days. And yeah, so that kind of brings me to your latest and greatest running escapades, and I suppose how that compares to your youth. I would be really curious. Like recently, you ran, am I right in saying, 2 hour 39-minute marathon?
Yeah, the marathon, well, it's almost 2 years ago now, but so it would have been like just coming up on the 1 year anniversary of Fighting Fit, that I went from basically not running at all to running 2:39. And the thing I loved about the program and what it did for me was that, aside from getting me back running and helping address the injury issues, I was able to get to a level in races off a lot less mileage. So I stopped trying to do the high mileage approach that I'd had in the past, but with the work so the strength gains I got helped me basically reduce the running load, but still maintain the same performance. But to your question on where I am now compared to where I used to be, it's sadly it's a long way off. I mean, I would have been a reasonably talented junior, underage in school and stuff, and went to college in the US, ran cross country and track. I say I ran cross country track. I spent more time injured than I did actually running, but I was part of the team over there. So most of my PBs would kind of sit from my college days. So 15:20 for the 5K, 32 minutes for 10K, 4:27 for the mile. And then, after college, I ran recreationally, and then I basically stopped running about a year after I left college. Took a hiatus for a few years, and then in 2000, I entered the Dublin Marathon. So at that stage, I'd been away from running for 2 or 3 years. Kind of was in that position, that kind of a similar position to when I joined Fighting Fit at the time. So was just looking to basically get back in shape. So used the marathon as a motivation to do that. So I started training and actually got into reasonably good shape. So 2009, I was training for Dublin, got back healthy, fit, like ran some good races in the build up to the marathon, but picked up an injury to the hip about a month out. So dropped out of the marathon after about 12 miles with the hip problem. Got that checked out, and it led into a diagnosis of CML, chronic myeloid leukemia, which was a bit unexpected. So I started medication for that, but the fact that I was back training, I felt fine. You know, the medication didn't have too much of an impact. So entered the marathon again for the following year, same exact pattern, got into good shape, ran the build-up races. About a month out, I got injured, couldn't do it. And then 2011, did exactly the same thing, got into shape, ran my half marathon PB. So I ran 1:13. So that was like my last PB. So that was in September, and then I got injured before the marathon and couldn't do the marathon again. So
what was the injury that time around?
Same hip, groin. Hip. You know, it was those same issues that kind of led to the problems that I had down the line before I joined you guys. So I did have a small comeback. I ran the London Marathon, which was my first marathon in 2015. I ran 2:50, but off a pretty limited training base, and ended up injured off the back of that. And that was kind of really it for me and running for the most part until I joined you guys. So I mean, like from 2015 to basically 2022, you know, I would have been running recreationally, just trying to lose weight, but it was a progressive cycle of losing fitness and gaining weight, and not really doing too much.
Yeah, cheers. That's a wild old road. And what do you think now is like the big difference as to like why you don't get injured so much? Do you think it's just simply down to the strength training? Like, do you think those muscles were just underdeveloped?
Completely, yeah. And the fact then that running is put such a load on specific muscle groups that any kind of imbalance or weakness there, you know, once any concerted period training block I would do, it was just exacerbating it, you know, each time. And I just didn't have the knowledge or the awareness of what was going on. I just thought, you know, oh, my groin's gone again. I need to just rest it and recover, rather than actually I need to fix what's causing the underlying problem, which is, you know, weakness in other areas and things like that. So, you know, and the weaknesses were kind of became very apparent to me with some of the different lifting exercises we would do. You know, like, I mean, when I started with you guys, my front squat was terrible because my groins were so weak. You know, my knees would be caving inward and stuff like that. And, you know, just basically working through those that really helped fix a lot of those chronic issues that I was having. So, I mean, yeah, up until the shin injury recently, I mean, like, running has been a pretty much pain-free, enjoyable exercise, which it hadn't been for a long time before that.
Yeah, going from, you know, any time that you really got a bit of wind in your sails, it was just kind of getting knocked right back out to being able to do multiple events and really push and feel great. Yeah, that's like night and day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Big time. And so then next question is, obviously you've got a family. You're a family man. How many kids do you have?
3 kids. Yeah.
3 kids.
2 girls and a boy, 6, 5, and 2. Yeah.
6, 5, and 2. How do you do it?
I sleep a lot less than I used to, but
I think that's a natural trade-off.
But no, I mean, I have to say, everyone thinks they have the best kids, but you know, but no, they're good kids, and the fact that they're actually so close in age, you know, they do a lot of stuff together. They entertain each other and things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, otherwise, I get to work from home. I'm lucky enough that I work from home, so get to spend time with them during the day as well. But yeah,
And then your routine, what's your kind of training routine? How do you fit that in? You just get it all done in the morning? Is that the tactic?
all
Or?
done in the morning. Yeah, so I'm usually in the 7 class. So if I'm running to run some before the class, and then I'm home by 8, which is usually right around when the kids wake up. So I'm done and dusted when their day is getting started. So
Legend. That's unbelievable. And I think like for a lot of people, like there's not going to really be any other way that you can swing that, to be fair. Like if you're trying to work a full-time job and then spend quality time with a family, you know, in the evenings for whatever, you know, 2-3 hour period after dinner time that, you know, might exist, you know, to then go and try and train for a marathon or a half marathon or a gym routine or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's a lot. And well, and it's definitely a lot to try and do both. Like you probably manage one, but you know, maybe I can't do gym and running. It's like, yeah, we got to start creating some time early in the day, I think.
yeah, I mean, and I better give Joanne a shout out here. I'm lucky that Joanne's as good a partner, a wife, and mother as she is. But for me, it's just if I was to try and train in the afternoon or the evening after work, which I've done in the past, but it just creates too much uncertainty because something comes up during the day, be it with either work or the kids, and it can throw your training plans out the window. Whereas, like, at least I know if it's the first thing I do in the morning, then it's done, it's logged. Whatever the day brings, then we'll deal with that. But at least I've got my run and my workout out of the way, and starting the day on a good note.
Yeah, that's serious commitment. And again, yeah, like it's happening regardless, not leaving up the chance. That's a great strategy. That's actually a fantastic point, and speaks to again experience. You know, we've been there in the past when it hasn't worked, and so yeah, what's the bulletproof solution? Make sure that it happens. If it is a priority, we'll make sure it happens. And then you did High Rocks last year as well. So really kind of combining your new love of weight training and the old love of running into a perfect event for you. How did you get on with that?
High Rocks was tough. I really enjoyed it. I haven't been brave enough to sign up for another one yet. But to your point, I mean, it combined the running element with the strength element. So I was lucky enough to kind of do the National Fitness Games with you guys last April, which was kind of the first, I would say, competition that wasn't a running race that I'd ever done, I would say.
Wow.
And really enjoyed that experience, but I wouldn't be the strongest guy in the world. So it's quite humbling seeing some of the weights that were being thrown around that day. But the High Rocks, at least the running element levels up the field a bit for me. But it's a really well-designed event in that it stresses you in different ways, and it's designed to kind of gas you early, like the sled push and sled pull being the second and third stations on the race, leave you in a really bad shape when you still have quite a lot to go. So I was extremely wobbly on my legs after the sled pull, and I was like, oh my god, this is not what I thought I was signing up for. But you kind of recover and come back around, and initially my expectations were overly optimistic beforehand. I thought as being a strong runner, I thought that that would, because half the race is essentially running, that I would have a huge advantage. But the stations in between kind of level out how much of an advantage that is, because I couldn't run top pace because I was gassed from lifting and pushing weights that I wouldn't be that used to. So,
but I enjoyed it. Advantage?
I did. I mean, I would be that guy that goes and looks at the individual splits of each station and things like that. And I saw where I lost time. I wanted to break 110 on the day. I was just under 115, but it was basically 2 or 3 stations that I lost the time on. And it was actually a little bit surprising. I lost time on the burpee broad jumps, the sandbag lunge, and the wall ball, which was basically three of the later ones, three of the last four stations. But if I looked at it really, like if I had been better equipped to do the sled push and pull, I wouldn't have been as tired going into them, and I would have got, you know, so the stations where I lost the time, but I lost it because I wasn't as well prepared on the sled push and pull.
Interesting. So, are we going to do another one?
See what next year brings. But I mean, it's if I was to do it, there was a Dublin was tricky in that it's I think it's the smallest Tyrox venue to have, so it's a lot of laps, and it was a very crowded track. I mean, like there was multiple occasions during that race where I was literally like having just to barge people out of your way, which aside from feeling guilty about having to do it, it's also quite draining, you know, because it brings a physical element to it that you could do without.
Big time.
So yeah, I mean, I'd like to maybe try one overseas at a bigger track and see what happens. But if I can get my shin sorted out, the next immediate goal is to go to a marathon in October, which I'm getting quite nervous about because October's not that far away, and I'm not currently running. So we'll get that done and then see what way the body is and what's the next on the agenda.
Interesting, yeah, because that brings my next question then. So what is the current goals? And obviously, so we're training for, you know, the Galway Marathon ideally. Like, have you started training for that already now, kind of on the rower? Like, is that kind of what's gearing your training? Is that what your mind's focused on mainly still?
Yeah, so when I signed up for it a few months back, the goal was, you know, try and PB beat my time from Dublin. That is totally out the window. I've missed way too much time. But if you know I can get back on, you know, completing it, I'll be happy enough with. I'm sure as closer I get, my attitude may change. But you know, like I've been doing the bike and the road to try and maintain a bit of cardiac fitness while I can't run, but it's not the same. And like, you know, even I got out for a couple of runs in the last few days, and my cardiac fitness has deteriorated really badly. So yeah, I just need to get kind of back to a consistent base of, you know, getting my miles in and getting the fitness up and go from there.
It's interesting that you say that. I wonder how true that is, or I wonder if it is like it's just an illusion because you feel like it because you haven't been running. Because like just for those people who don't know, Eamonn still been putting 5Ks in on the rower like every morning. So again, just like that would be my question. Like big eyebrow raise. Do you think that there's that much a difference between the run and the rower? Is it down to intensity? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, so the rower, well, it's different muscle groups. So I mean, part of the reason why I'm feeling crappy on the runs the last couple of days, you know, since I started back was, you know, it's probably not aerobic as much, but my legs are working in a way that they haven't worked in a few weeks, and so it probably feels just a bit harder than I think it should. But yeah, no, I'd be happy enough that my fitness will come back relatively quickly once I get my mileage up. But the rower, I mean, yeah, it's a great exercise. You know, like I don't like it, but it is a great fitness exercise. I mean, like both from like to your point in cardiac, like I mean, I see my heart rate, you know, when I'm doing it, and it's well up there. And you know, you can't do much more than, you know, 20-30 minutes, or arms and legs are going to fall off. So yeah, I'm thinking of it from the point of view that I did 5 miles on Sunday, and it was like that felt terrible. How am I going to do another 21 and try and run faster? But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's more than good on than just cardio, let's say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. And so then the next question is, well, looking back, like, what's your kind of proudest moments in racing? Like, what's the race you're most proud of, or even just like highlights or mini victories in training or something?
Yeah, the one I'm probably most proud of is the Dublin Marathon. For a bunch of reasons. One, it's the only race where I can be quite negative and hard on myself. You know, when I analyze performances, you know, I tend not to give myself a lot of credit. You know, because if someone beats me, then it's like, okay, how how do I beat them, rather than just being like, oh, I actually ran a good race today.
Yeah.
But the marathon was the one race where I genuinely don't think I could have run a second quicker. Like, it was the only race I ever really came away saying that was as much as I could have possibly given. And so, and the fact that I was really happy with the time, I had thought, obviously describing the way I was, that a year before I wasn't even running, and I was out of shape. To have been able to get back into that kind of level of fitness was really satisfying. Yeah, I generally look at my running career as largely disappointment,
Oh no.
or unfulfilled potential, just because of the injuries and stuff that I had. I always felt like I never actually got to get my best performances out of me. So,
Yeah.
like 5K, I always wanted and felt I was capable of breaking 15 minutes. I mean, I had teammates on my college team who I was able to beat in cross country races, and they broke 15 minutes on the track, and I wasn't within 20 seconds of it. So, and a lot of it was just lack of, I didn't get the time with the injuries to put the work in to get to that point. But yeah, I to be honest, I don't have too many regrets on that front. I mean, I'm definitely happiest with the marathon, but I wouldn't say a lot of my races fill me with kind of a sense of pride, because I generally don't feel like I ever got to my true level that often. But I've said this to you before, but like, I'm at a stage now where I'm older. My best days were 20 years ago, so it's hard to kind of to look at races as an opportunity to PB. I am a bit more kind of reflective and just look at it as, did I do well for where I'm at right now? And as long as I feel like I kind of made my best effort, and that for me is satisfying enough. But yeah, the marathon is definitely one I'm very proud of.
Yeah, and rightly so. Like a serious time. It's interesting that, and I'm sure many high performance athletes, it's the same thing. Like this chronic lack of fucking high fives and attaboys to yourself, which again, like I know a few people in your little running community, and again, like super supportive to them, But again, most people who have very, very high standards will flog themselves for, not achieving the absolute peak. And in doing so, you've far excelled over what most people would ever even fucking set goals to, or like, your worst day was somebody's, I'd never even fucking 5K in 16 minutes. You must be joking me. You're sitting there fucking 16 minutes. That's where's the rest of that minute gone? So it's interesting enough. And again, listen, that's kind of a series of unfortunate events. I know myself, I had a history of injuries and definitely a bad stroke of luck with boxing and the like. And, you just kind of have to take it for what it is and think about all the many different ways that athletic journey made you grow and made you learn. And yeah, maybe like, listen, maybe you're not the fucking 5-time Irish champion in the 5K, but like, Jesus, imagine where you would have been if you never took up a part in the running community and you never kind of lived up to even the potential that you had now. Like, it is still an amazing journey to have had, and those high standards, as hard as it is, it's like they're the things that pulled you on. And it's a double-edged sword, because you're at one hand, that high standards what kept you where you were, where you wanted to be, and kept you going and kept you driven, but at the same time, sits there casting a big shadow.
Well, that's it. I could have been 5-time Irish champion.
There you go.
But
Yeah.
no, I do get it. And like, it's something I've been better at. Is being a bit fairer to myself. But like, I do feel like it was a kind of a case of what could have been, but at the same time, like, no matter how much I wanted it, like, I kind of appreciate how few people make it to the top. And I even, like, I'm lucky enough to I know people that have been Olympians and gone and won medals at world championships and stuff like that, and seeing how hard they work and the talent level that they have. And like, I was not at that level, you know. So
Yeah.
it becomes easier to accept, you know, I am what I am. But I was lucky, you know, like that I got my education off the back of my running ability, and then obviously with the diagnosis and the injury, like if I hadn't got that injury in the first Dublin Marathon, you know, I could have been in a lot worse shape. You know, that condition would have gone undiagnosed for a lot longer, and by the time I would have found out about it, it would have been, you know, a much harder prognosis. So,
Yeah.
yeah, running's given me a lot more than I probably admit at times, and yeah, so it doesn't owe me anything, but you know, a couple more PBs would still be nice.
Yeah. And so do you have any kind of plans for any kind of PBs? Because obviously, like, listen, now, obviously, I don't want to put you in a box. Fucking far be it from me. But yeah, you're kind of thinking, yeah, the 5K PB, that's a very intense PB, especially like compared to you as a young fella, absolutely fucking hammering the body to get it. You know, do you have any kind of, like, is a marathon PB still on the cards? Is it a half marathon? Have you lengthened out the distance to kind of adjust?
Yeah, I think a marathon PB is probably the only one that's on the half marathon possibly, but I'd have to train more specifically as a runner, you know, which would probably mean slightly less time in the classes and more running focus work. Which, to be honest, at the minute I'm just not in a place where I want to do that. Like
Yeah.
the one thing I love about the classes is, you know, I know I'm 2.5 years with you guys now, but still kind of a relative novice on it. So like, you know, I'm getting PBs on the benches and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of where the PB element and that reward sense of reward comes from. But no, to be honest, if I keep getting the classes and my running, you know, like that, I'm quite content. I don't, you know, not that I'm not willing to do the work. You know, I'm happy to work hard, but I don't want to risk going back into the old cycle of injuries by training specifically as a runner.
All right, guys. So we had a little bit of technical issues. We're back on track. This is a new day 2 of the Eamonn O'Connor podcast, in fact. And so we're really, really blessed, and we're really lucky that we have part 2 here at all, and we didn't just get cut off completely. So picking things up where we left off, Eamonn, we were kind of rounding out your running history and how you're really, really grateful for, you know, the drama that happened during your running career, because obviously it highlighted some things which we should definitely get into. To be fair, I know we didn't really get much of a chance to address it the last time, but the leukemia diagnosis, when you brought it up in the podcast, I had already heard and I had already done my absolutely shocked and amazed thing, and then we were already kind of on a different subject, so I didn't want to dig too deep in it. But I mean, that's a hell of a diagnosis. Did that pull you off track too far? Like, did that affect you in any kind of major way, or what was the rundown with that? So that's insane.
Um, Not too much, to be honest. Like I said, like I was very lucky to find out when I did. It was only because of the injury. When I went to get the injury checked out, I got an MRI to. I was getting pain quite high on my quad hip area. I was worried it was a stress fracture in my femur, because I'd had stress fractures in the past. So the doctor told me, he's like, I'm going to refer you on just because your bone marrow looks a little funny, but don't worry, it's not leukemia. And then got the test done, and it turned out it was. But no, to be honest, like I am very lucky. Like I've never felt sick as a consequence of it. You know, I do have to go for regular checks and stuff like that. But the solution, thankfully, was just taking some medication. Um, you know, if it was 40 years ago, or if things had progressed, you know, it would have been a different outlook. But thankfully, the medication's there. I'm not on it anymore. You know, like I've had enough of a response to it that been off treatment now for about 2.5 years, and thankfully seems to be
Yes.
in remission or whatever they call it. But yeah, I mean, one of the side effects of the medication was muscle soreness. So when I was trying to run with it, I never really knew if the pain I was having was injury related or medication related. But um, just always kind of just try to not not ignore it, but you know, just train as if things were normal. And for the most part, was able to do that. So yeah, like I said, that's kind of why I feel grateful. I feel lucky that found out when I did that I never really had to deal with the illness that you do see kind of in the hospital with patients going through more severe forms of it. So yeah, very lucky.
I think you're lucky stars, 100%. And so, with that said, then moving away from running, we were kind of touching on then your new found love for weight training and kind of how you're self-described novice in that area. So obviously, lots of opportunities for progress and PBs and that kind of stuff. So, what is your favorite lift, or what is kind of something that you're really working towards now in any capacity to do with weights? Like, what are you building towards?
It's a good question. I haven't really thought of it in terms of an end goal. Like it's just the progression element. I mean, I love tracking the workouts in the app. I mean, previously with the level method, that was very clear goals, and what the next one was. Now it's just trying to see, can I improve where I'm at. I'm not as being a runner, like the likes of things like 1 rep max. It's nice, but it's not something I would train towards. I'm more interested in kind of the volume element. When I'm doing the sessions, if there's a rep range, I'll typically always try and work to the higher rep number.
Okay,
but there's definitely think just milestones along the way. I mean, like I think when I started, I could just about hold my weight over the bar, in the chin up position for 5 seconds, progressed to that, to being able to do a pull up for the first time and things like that. It is quite rewarding to do things that, I just flat out wasn't able to do in the past. So, but yeah, it's just day by day, small gains. Is it whether it's a volume gain in terms of the number of reps at a weight, or, can I actually increase the weight on the bar, that kind of thing. But
so any movement of any metric is kind of, you're happy enough with progress.
Just progress. Exactly. Yeah.
Just one foot in front of the other. And then, so next question then, what's your favorite lift? What do you love the most? Even though you don't mind progressing them all, what's your love?
It was definitely not Bulgarian split squats, but
that's my next question.
It's a good question, actually. I don't know.
There's only one right answer, by the way.
Yeah, it's bench press.
It has to be bench press. There's only one right answer. Everything else is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one that everyone judges. What can you lift? When someone asks you what can you lift, that's what they're talking about. Yeah.
Exactly.
I like dips. I do like dips, and pull-ups wouldn't be far behind.
Yeah. All upper body.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about training arms. It's just a lot less systemic fatigue. Most people kind of prefer it. Like, I do love a squat. I love squats, but I do not look forward to a really heavy squat session because it's quite punishing, Whereas bench press, let's go. I feel great during it, before, after.
I think the other thing too, I feel like just whether it's form breaking down from fatigue or that, I always find like the risk of injury seems to just be a little bit higher when it's leg work or deadlift, that kind of thing. Whereas the upper body specific stuff, I feel like is just there's less of that risk factor. I mean, not that it's not there, but it's easier to kind of work to fatigue and not risk hurting yourself.
Yeah, not exactly. The bit that I'm starting to kind of really think about, obviously, it's mostly, I assume, when you're talking, and again, I am assuming, most people are nervous with their back, right? So we start lifting heavy weights, the big kind of risk factor is the back. And the reason being is, like, think about, like, most joints and most areas in your body. Like, let's say we're doing upper body, you've got the joints that you're going to worry about: shoulder, elbow, wrist. 3. Okay, cool. We're doing legs, we're doing squats, it's hip, knee, ankle. Okay, 3. But again, once we start doing legs and that pelvis starts dipping below the waist, it's like, actually, you've got your lumbar spine to deal with. So you've a lot more joints in that small region than you even have to focus on the whole piece. And a lot of people just either haven't got good mobility, just don't understand what it looks or feels like to keep the back in a good position. And then, even with all that in mind, then, it could possibly get pulled out of position with that maximal load as well. So it's very, very risky for the low back. for legs. I think that's why people are a little bit hesitant with deadlifts and squats and that kind of stuff. Obviously, squats, some people are afraid of getting crushed by the bar, which is reasonable.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, a lot of people are scared to lift the weights, and they're like, "Oh, I'm scared. I don't know why." I'm like, "I know why." It's like you've got 100 kilo on your back. Like, that's risky business.
Yeah.
All right, so getting into the last real question that I have for you today, and then we'll get into the fun questions. All right, so the last one, actually, because we did touch on your weight loss at the start, and I know on the piece that we lost in the podcast, we did actually briefly touch on the fact that, you know, maybe your strategy with nutrition isn't like super meticulous, but you had a serious stint of weight loss when you started. I'll actually pull your pace up now just really quickly. But as I said, you did lose, what did I say up the top here? We lost 17.2 kilo. So what changed for you in terms of nutrition? Because obviously, you know, we were training a lot more, so the activity increased. But what was the approach for kind of losing the 17 kilo?
Just, I would say it was, I mean, to put it bluntly, it was discipline. It came in, I suppose, two forms. I didn't feel like I had to change my eating routine all that much. You know, like it was 3 square meals. The one addition was, you know, adding protein and creatine that I had never taken before, which, you know, was helping me with the recovery. But cutting out the snacks, you know, I'd have a sweet tooth. You know, I work from home, so, you know, you go down to make a cup of tea. You know, I'd end up a couple of biscuits with the cup of tea. This type of, you know, so just being disciplined in cutting that out. But being honest then about portion size. You know, like my average dinner plate would probably be 2 to 3 times what would you'd actually be allowed in terms of, like, if it was a rice dish, like a curry or that kind of thing, that you know, 100 grams of rice, and, you know, I'm actually eating 250 grams of rice. So being honest about that. But what, you know, once making those changes, I didn't find it too hard. I was really just kind of cutting out the snacks, and just that honesty factor. And once then I started to add the running back in particularly the marathon training. I mean, that just created such a calorie deficit that the weight fell off pretty quick, and I was able to kind of just, you know, I got the weight down to kind of what I would call race weight, and then it was nice. Like, okay, I can stop cutting now and just go back to eating just healthily, but, you know, allowing the calorie count to, you know, basically stop counting.
Yeah. So that approach, funnily enough, is the exact same approach I took from January till now. Just eating generally less. You know, it's like not that complicated. And as I said, yeah, all the stuff that I normally say yes to, from the drawer, from the sweet press, saying no. You know, if there was a takeout going, no, I'm okay. At least, you know, 1 every 5 takeaways. Like, if there was an opportunity, we're saying no. And your pace here, I actually think somehow is longer than I thought, and I think that that's more impressive. Like, again, so it from December 2021 until your leanest in October 2022. So that's 17.2 weight loss happened from December to October. So 10 months. So by no stretch drastic weight loss, like just nice and steady. And again, not really like a couple of fluctuations, but nothing to say you went off track by any stretch. It's just nice, slow, steady consistency. That's badass.
Yeah, and you know, you know, anyone thinking that I was you know, like calorie restricting for 10 months, that wasn't the case. You know, once the running really ramped up, which was kind of, I think, probably April, May time, you know, so like I had probably a 5 to 6 month period where I consciously calorie counted, you know, had that restriction. You know, it wasn't every, you know, but I was pretty good, you know, every so often.
It's just a general rule, and that's
yeah.
And I think that that's one of the reasons why that approach is so attractive, is because, you know, especially if you do generally just have it in your head, hey, listen, I'm going to change. All right. You know, you're going to change. We know there's only one real direction. That kind of frees you up a little bit. Just understand, listen, I'm going to put a couple months work in, and I might take a day off here and there and just, again, enjoy my bloody life, which is the whole bloody point. And so, yeah, not falling into that place where we're just feeling restricted and just, oh, put in 10 months of serious, intense, hard, disciplined work. Is like there is a lot more corners of discipline than undisciplined, but we're still having fun, you know, within reason.
Yep.
And having fun within reason as well, to be fair, looks like, at least in your schedule, you know, probably 6 runs a week, maybe 7. Are you 7 runs a week kind of guy?
As long as the body's willing, I'll go out every day. Yeah.
So 7 runs a week, 5 workouts a week. Like, that's the activity level. That's just the standard bare minimum. So we're moving. So the calorie burn's high. Then it really is just about not being abusive with the portion size, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. To be honest, you know, if I can maintain that volume of training, the diet actually comes in about making sure I'm actually fueling enough to support it. You know, at the minute, you know, with the injury I've had to the shin and stuff, you know, the calorie burn is not there to support, so my weight is a little up, but again, I'm not to the point that I'm worried about it, or, you know, it's like, okay, once I get back to that volume, I know I'll kind of start coming back to, but yeah, I need to be conscious that if it continues to be below where I need it to be, then I'll have to start kind of thinking about reintroducing a bit more discipline.
Yeah, and do you have it in your head in any capacity when that does happen? Like, are you going to go to MyFitnessPal, or are you just going to have this again, just this kind of decision that you're making in your head?
I think it depends on the need, and, you know, like, if I know I'm going to be long term below the exercise volume that I want, and that you know, weight gain might result off the back of that, then I'd use MyFitnessPal, absolutely. If it's a more short term thing where it's a couple of weeks here and there, then no, it's just you know, a bit of self discipline. You know, just ignore the biscuit tin when I have a cup of tea, that kind of thing. So
yeah, getting to that space can be quite difficult, but you've obviously managed it, and obviously you have drive and goals and vision. So that really is the power behind these decisions, I find, for me anyway, which is, again, it's like this thing of, if you really want it, what the fuck are you doing? Like, doing anything else? You know what I mean? It's like, this is the way forward. If you really want it, well, then obviously this is how it goes.
yeah, and you know, to that end as well, you know, just avoid, you know, like, Joanne's the one that does the shopping in our house, but like, if one of us is at the point where, you know, we're looking at restricting that, or trying to, we just don't buy the stuff that we used to, you know, so that the temptation's not sitting there to help, and it's honestly the easiest way. And you know, sometimes you have, particularly on Joanne's side, you know, brothers, sisters calling for a cup of tea, and they can be disappointed with the selection of biscuits that might be on offer, because there might be any, but you know, if you're going to do it right, then, I mean, it's the easiest form, is just take the temptation out of the equation.
Yeah, big time. Good shout, and a great strategy, and obviously effective, on top of miles and miles and miles, if you're, you know. So as I said, now we're kind of getting into the fun stuff. So what's your favorite workout song? Obviously no earphones when you're running.
Yeah, I don't wear earphones. I just let the mind wander. Find it, you know, cheaper than therapy, and how I just kind of get the mind to kind of relax and prep for the day ahead. But no, when I'm working out, classic rock tends to be, or something with a bit of anger, and I do have a kind of pre-race playlist that I'd listen to before I start warming up and things like that. So
nice.
Just something with a bit of life in it. Mix of stuff like Led Zeppelin, Bruce Springsteen, Zombie, the Cranberries, you know, a bit of Rage Against the Machine, just something with a bit of tempo, volume on it.
Do you want to pick one, and as a gift for doing the podcast, I've had Nathan and Ursula, they've got a song on the playlist. Do you want to make a contribution?
Sure, yeah. I'll go for the angry one. I'll go for Killing in the Name of Rage Against the Machine.
Love it. I know a lot of people are going to be happy to hear that song on the playlist, and a lot of people are not going to be happy to hear that on the playlist. Thus is the gym playlist dilemma. But sure, listen, it is what it is. Class, Eamonn, yeah. Look forward to what is it? Killing the Name.
Killing in the Name of, yeah.
Love it. Let's do it. All right. So next one, favorite protein flavor.
The strawberry. It's pretty much staple. I did try a few of the other ones. The banana, the chocolate, the ice cream, but strawberry and then vanilla protein milk, it's the go-to.
Excellent. And yeah, so also that protein cocktail, what is the grams of protein on that bad boy by the end of it?
I think it's in around 75, so it's 500 ml protein milk, which I think is about 24 grams, or something there or thereabouts. If the Avamore Gold stuff's on sale, then it's up to 33 for the 500
Nice.
ml, and then 2 scoops of whey and a bit of creatine. So that's breakfast. Yeah.
Perfect. And is there any other supplements in your day? We got creatine and whey.
I just have it. It's not pre-workout, but just like a hydration tablet in the morning, just electrolytes. So just before I go out the door, I'll take that just to kind of make sure I'm somewhat hydrated after a night's sleep before exercising.
And is that a dissolvable tab? Is it just a salt
Yeah,
tab?
yeah, just dissolvable tablet, pint of water, and chug that out the door.
Excellent, yeah. Class, favorite cheat meal. So you're gonna go off track. Where are you going? Who are you ringing?
It's a curry, either Indian or Chinese, but yeah, the curry house that's across, or used to be across from the Windsor, pretty devastated when that closed. That was go-to, but yeah, curry out of the Jade is pretty much the cheat meal of order.
And is it close? Is it close to the curry house, the Jade?
No, it's not even close.
No.
But
I know
it's good enough. It's good enough.
That was a phenomenon in the town. Like the line was out the door. It was a wild experience. Yeah. It must have been good curry. I actually never got from it.
We did speculate whether they were putting something in it, that it was like literally an addiction, but yeah.
MSG is normally the thing. Have you ever heard of MSG?
Yeah. No, I was worried something more like cocaine or
Hilarious. Yeah. Something real. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
That would probably get people coming back. To be fair.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So
So,
good stuff, yeah.
What about your favorite snack to increase protein? Maybe outside that shake. Do you have any kind of protein snacks? Any go-tos?
There's Joe buys the Happy Valley. No, I don't know. There's not that much protein in it. It's like a 10-gram, but it's just a oat bar with a chocolate covering. So
nice.
Eat that instead of like a proper snack or a time out. At least I feel like I'm doing something a bit better than cheating. But
I suppose even if it's worse, right? Even if it's worse in some degrees, there's a lot to be said. There's a lot to be said for just being objectively good or being objectively not a good decision. Let's say, obviously all in context, but mental momentum is definitely an important facet. And so again, like if you had to make the choice, if they're both sitting in front of you and one feels good and one feels bad, choosing the thing that at least feels bad versus the thing that feels good could break momentum. And so again, just those little decisions to kind of keep, hey, listen, I'm invested in my fitness. The same thing, going for a Fulfill bar instead of a Snickers is like, hey, listen, how much better are you really? But at the same time, we're moving in the fitness direction.
Yeah, you took the choice for a reason. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, this is it. Next one. What are your calories and macros in general? Do you have any idea?
Not really. If I had to estimate my calorie intake now, is probably be close to 3,000 calories a day. When I was in that weight loss restriction, it was at 1,900.
Big deficit.
So, yeah, and part of that would be, the portion size, and then just hunger, especially when I'm in that full mileage training, which I'm not, but at the minute, but it keeps me in an even keel. But when my mileage drops, and I don't tend to drop the calorie count, so or the calorie intake, so the weight starts to go up a little bit.
Yeah, I normally adjust a little. I don't adjust to zero, but I adjust probably less than I should. But I do adjust because I will get quite fat pretty quick, to be fair. And it's very easy. It actually took me a wee while to break the momentum. I was on a bulk for like nearly 2 years, and it took me like 3 weeks just to slow the portions down a little bit. I didn't lose any weight, but just to reduce the portion size took a wee while because our natural inclination for appetite can just be set, and it's like, listen, you're gonna have to outwork that big stomach stretch that you're used to, let's say. And
the other thing I have is that and this is actually common enough amongst runners, but when I'm injured, it's like, oh, well, like, I can't drink when I'm racing and stuff like that, so I'll have a few beers in the evening and things like that. So,
Yes.
you know, probably why I spend so much time injured. But
As long as
but
not
yeah,
running when you're drunk, you should be fine.
it doesn't have the calorie intake when you're adding beer on top of what you're eating. But yeah, it's again, I'd rather do it when I'm injured than when I'm racing. So.
Yeah, big time. Obviously, that makes sense, 100%. Because you take your race seriously. So, if you want to get the most out of it, you're going to have to look after the other elements of your lifestyle. But that comes with the, geez, I've been taking this thing seriously for a while. I'm gonna relax and enjoy myself. It was definitely that way with boxing with us. Again, you kind of have the on season, out of season, and
Yeah.
it didn't really work for me because I didn't have the discipline to do at least a little bit on the off season. So it was a complete teetotal thing for us. Like, it was either we're all in or we're all out, and the all out was just terrible. Like, I like a little bit of out. I definitely think that downtime is important, but I wouldn't recommend to anybody. Like, even for a holiday, like if you're going on a holiday and you're listening, I would not recommend taking the week off if training is important to you, because the momentum that you lose and the journey back is just far, far too rough, and I don't think it's worth it, to be fair. And again, it trains this mentality that you get to stop. It's like, realistically, if you want your body to function for a long period of time, we should probably just always chip away, even if the intensity is really low. Like, just do something. Nice light runs for you, a nice wee quick half marathon for you, probably on your holidays.
Not quite that far. So it's a bit too hot, but yeah. No, we actually have holidays coming up now next week. So
interesting. What's your training plan on your holidays? How will you work that?
Ideally, are we back?
We're back.
All right.
No, just don't have your camera.
Oh, there we go. Yep,
we're back.
Yeah, so holidays, ideally the routine doesn't change. I mean, one of the first things I check now whenever we go anywhere is, what gym's available at the hotel. I mean, with the app, I know what the workouts are when I'm gone. So it's do the run, do the workout, same as ever. Just it's just a matter of coordinating with Joanne when she goes, when I go, and who's minding the kids at what times. But yeah, ideally nothing changes. Except for the calorie intake, just because it's holidays. But
yeah. Maybe if the workouts are a little bit more hungover, but you're getting them done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Class. All right, last one, Eamonn, and then I'll let you go. Tips for anyone who's looking to start either running or lifting weights. They're on the fence, they're scared, they're apprehensive, they just fucking can't make themselves do it, but they definitely want to.
The biggest thing for me with starting to weight train, I mean, I'd done gym work in the past, but nothing structured or consistent. But I mean, especially when I look at my running and what I could have potentially been, structured weight training, if I'd been doing it then, I think would have made a massive difference in terms of both the injury profile I had, but also like achieving my potential. It needs to be, for me, a mix of both. You get the strength training, you need cardio on top of it. But it's just, for me, I spent years doing the same thing over and over and hoping the outcome would be different. So, I mean, if people have been in that rut and struggling to make, a change in their life, or, trying the same things that they've been doing to make that change, then you kind of need to reassess and look at, doing something you haven't done before. For me, it was, joining Fighting Fit, getting into that structured class environment, and then going from there. But it's just making that one step different than you've done before, and then just following that path, seeing where it leads you.
Eamonn, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast, for sharing all your wisdom. What age did you start running at, just out of curiosity?
I was about 10 or 11.
10 or 11. What age are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
A lot older than 10 or 11. No, I'm 43.
So what do we got there? So 32 years of experience.
Well, a lot of pauses and injuries in between, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would consider myself to have run for that length of time. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, years and years of experience, like lots of tips and very, very kind of useful attitude adjustments, I think, as well. Something that has always stood out to me just in the short period of time that I've watched, and to be fair, many people like you who are driven and have a vision. Every time an obstacle gets in your way, you never change direction. It's you change like your orientation a little bit. It's like, okay, you know, a tree fell in our way, we're going around or we're going over. It's like we're not, oh, the tree's in our way. They couldn't possibly expect us to keep plowing forward. You know, with the fact that as soon as the shin splints happened, you were on the roar. This morning, again, Eamonn's kind of testing the boundaries of the leg a little bit. He's on the skipping rope. You know, it's like there's always an attitude to just change course because you're not giving this up. You never accept, you know, defeat. And I think that's one of the things that makes somebody great, is because everybody gets a setback. Everybody, and especially obviously and evidently the greats. Like again, if you want to be at a level of running that you have aspired to, it's like, how many setbacks did you go through during the podcast? Is like, and just, yeah, listen, write it off. We're going to come back. Now, that's not saying that it didn't affect you or that it was easy to do, but that kind of commitment to the cause and that kind of commitment to the end goal, and just even just the commitment to the process, and you're just not stopping regardless. Like, listen, I don't really care. I might not ever be the best, but I'm damn sure just going to do my best and kind of move forward in a positive direction.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's not that long. You know, I mean, it's 2.5 years with you guys, but I mean, I know what, you know, from the progress, I know what I looked like and I know what I felt like before I joined, and it's a case of, you know, I could feel, you know, I got a shin injury, I could feel sorry for myself and put the feet up and end up on a very quick path back to what that looked like and felt like, and it's not something that, you know, I have any interest in doing. You know, so it's like, okay, I can't do this, but I can do this. So, you know, it's and again, I feel the better for it. I mean, touch wood, you know, the shin's on the road to recovery, but I mean, if it's not, then, you know, again, it's not the end of the world. You know, I can still maintain fitness, you know, get better at doing other things, you know, even things like just challenges on the road, like how fast can I do the 5K today, this kind of thing that,
yeah,
you know, keeps the competitive edge, but also, you know, keeps the training going.
Yeah, this is it. You're always trying to just find an avenue that's workable at any given time and just keep moving forward. And that's what it takes to be successful, is just that commitment and consistency. That really is something that's it's super evident through your training and through your podcast. It's a recurrent theme. Discipline, consistency, and never stopping, never giving up, no days off. Fair play to Eamon, and thank you again so much for doing not one but two podcasts with me. I'm not sure how you managed to hang on in there, but you did it in the end. So guys, again, just want to say thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you found this podcast beneficial. If you did, feel free to drop us a comment. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends, hit the share button, hit the like button. Liking and comment really, really, really help the algorithm just push this video out to more people. So if you're interested in health and fitness, guys, feel free to get in touch with us. You can get us on all our socials, Fighting Fit on Instagram, Facebook. You can check out the website, www.fightingfitnation.com. And that is a wrap, guys. Peace. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.